All right, I am back. Just got back from work about an hour or so. Look, we got some startling news to break down. I know you guys have been noticing I've been streaming from Indian news. Reason being, American news is being censored. If you haven't figured that out yet, it's being censored. You guys are not being told everything. You're not being shown everything unless you have to go on X or check out YouTube. YouTubers who's already pulling and they have to pull resources. They have to pull articles, they have to pull clips off of X to figure out what in the fuck is going on. Guys, like it or not, I'm giving you the raw news straight from India. So, this is startling. I woke up to a newsroom panel breaking down this war. They had said some things that is going to shock the shit out you. So, like, and I'm going to go over some other stuff that popped up on different news articles that I read, and then we're going to look at one of Trump's Truth Social posts. This should wake everybody up who is watching this about inflation on oil prices. If you haven't figured it out by now, this is going to wake you up. I'm going to break it down. So let's get into this newsroom panel, see what they're talking about.
The fallout in India is going to be tremendous right now itself. You already talked of the energy crisis that is going to be.
Let's fix the volume a bit.
Oil, we might have a certain assurance. Certainly LPG, we don't. We depend a hell of a lot. 40% of our imports come from there, and that's already hit badly. You can see the impact that's happening. Take a look at every sector that you're working on. And what I think is going to happen now is a crisis very similar to what happened during COVID. And while I must commend the government, at the moment they do have a sort of a whole of government approach in terms of bringing all these people to brief us every day, it has to move from firefighting to absolute crisis management, because you now know this war is not going to end very quickly. It is going to get worse. And therefore, I'll just finish. Every single aspect of that impact that is going to have, whether you're looking at the hospitality sector, which is really going to in deep trouble, airlines, whether you're looking at fertilizers, which you mentioned, where agriculture is going to be a problem. Take a look at any of the other industries, ceramics, wherever you're seeing problems where you need energy or in some senses
okay, quick rebuttal, and then I need my last question.
One quick point, Geeta. Very grandiosely,
let me slide it up a bit. I think that's the last half, but we're going to get into, let's see, go up.
America be isolated once this war ends, at least.
Yeah, right up in this area.
Time over here.
Trump has a lot of cards, let's not forget. He has oil also. Yeah. It's not like America's oil is going to vanish. He actually has multiple objectives in this war.
Which is
he
why,
China.
That's why they are moving their navy so fast in this particular area, and they are also assuring the Middle East countries that this is the sense of security we are going to provide you also, beside the air defense systems, that now Iran is not going to attack you, and this will be the last or the I think conclusion of this war when this going to end.
Which is what they're also saying. But quickly, Raj.
Well, I very optimistic view of things that are happening. But look, this is a war.
The first war of the 21st. But that.
I'm no longer now comfortable calling it the West Asia crisis. A report which I that now. Now let's come to India. If the fertilizer and agriculture security.
So is Trump?
All right, we'll start right there.
Something that we should now call Trump's war on the world's energy matrix. I'm no longer now comfortable calling it the West Asia crisis or Gulf War 3.0, and certainly it's not still World War 3, but it is a nuclear bomb that has been thrown on the world's oil and gas sector. Mid-70s, we remember the crisis, but this is far beyond what we have ever imagined. Let me just give you some quick statistics to put in perspective. I have in front of me a report which I bought for this show. Mid of December last year, which is just 3 months away, the projection for crude oil prices at a global level was just $51. Brent crude, which is one of the benchmarks which is widely tracked globally, is more than double that now. Now let's come to India. And because this is the democratic newsroom where we try and bust myths, people track Brent or WTI or other grades of crude oil. Don't track that. Track something called the Indian basket of crude, which is at $147 to the barrel. Now you may ask why. Because the Indian basket of crude is an aggregate of multiple types of crude that we buy, and then that becomes the pricing that we aggregate. If the Indian basket is at 146, what did our budget, which was presented just on the 1st of February, have projected for the new fiscal year, which is beginning 1st April?
Right.
It was $65 less as a project.
So right now he's going over the fact that what we're seeing now, Trump and Netanyahu has gone from this is a war on Iran's nuclear capability and ballistic capability to a war on the Iranian energy, let's just say, economy, being able to export oil in the future. So and this is mostly Israel, what Israel is low-key trying to force with Trump's, agreement is if you're not going to open the Strait of Hormuz, we're going to bomb your oil production facilities. So you're going to have to let the oil go to the countries who need it. And then you're going to have to fix your oil facilities while Saudi Arabia increase their oil output and sell to the other countries, cutting out Iran. And this will make Iran basically be economically destroyed. They're going to be an economic disaster, and it's going to take years for them to recover. That's what they're trying to push. That's the idea. I mean, Israel really wants Iran completely annihilated, almost as bad as like Pakistan and Afghanistan. As you can see, Iran's probably been through this. They don't really care. They're going to come back regardless. They're going to come back. They're going to have support. They got support from Russia and China, Pakistan, parts of Iraq, you name it. They got support. They already don't trust the Saudi Arabians, let alone the UAE. I mean, realistically, Saudi Arabia plays the middleman. You can't trust them anyway. They only have interest in money and business. That's it. That's it. And that's why I can clearly say Iran doesn't really worry about Saudi Arabia breaking ties with them because they're crooked. They're not even honest about anything right now at all. So, it's just one of those things. Iran is doing what's best for them right now. They prefer to defend their country, defend what they believe in to the death. That's what they want to do, and that's what they're going to do. They intend to do that.
Projected price. So the disruption in oil and gas is something that Geeta and to all our to eminent colleagues here has not been part of any projection for the longest. So nobody knows what is going on. And one final word. If the conflict were to stop tomorrow,
It'll still not stabilize.
it will
markets.
not stabilize because the second order, third order, and nth order effects are far beyond oil, including chemicals, including minerals, and God forbid fertilizers. And that is why you see this sense of urgency in the government of India to now go beyond protecting just our energy security to our fertilizer and agriculture
So
security.
is Trump on his way?
And they have a point because right now, West Asia is suffering more than the United States. They're suffering heavily. They don't really have any other avenues besides buying more expensive oil from other people. What Russia is trying to offer help. China's getting their oil from Iran, but they also trying to push for solar and electric energy anyway, so that they wouldn't have to deal with this problem. So it has already affected most of West Asia, and that's what they're discussing right now. Uh, let's see here.
They're actually joined at the hip right now, as far as these operations are concerned. Mark Rutte just a short while back said, other countries' allies, they're seeing how sea lanes of communication and especially the Strait of Hormuz can be kept open. Now, should that happen in some way? Is he only hedging because he's once called Trump daddy? So, daddy's got Europe in trouble, daddy's got NATO in trouble, and the world is in trouble. Can daddy get the world out of trouble? I don't think so. We're really in trouble now.
Okay. Sandeep?
I see an intense battle in the Straits of Hormuz, Geeta. There is an amphibious ready group that's crossed the Straits of Malacca. It's entered the Indian Ocean region. There are over 2,000 Marines there. There are 3 warships capable of assaulting and capturing islands. My sense is that Trump is going to go for Kharg Island, which is the most sensitive island possibly on the planet. That's where 90% of Iran's oil and gas is pumped out of.
He's absolutely correct. That's why the warship Tripoli is heading now. In fact, Trump hinted on that in a couple of his speeches, and that's another reason why he bombed it. If you guys have seen the reports, that's one of the reasons why he bombed it. Now, originally, he wanted the European countries to bring in ships. They were like, no, they don't want to get involved. So he went ahead and pulled the Tripoli from Japan to head over there. And then he bombed it. They're still bombing it because he even brought the idea up. If they can control that island that has oil supplies, they're going to use it as leverage. They also, if you know Trump, in the long run, they may want to control it, which is the problem that Iran has been having since the 50s. This is how all this started. UK had a stake in Iran's oil. Iran wanted to go national. The UK was mad about it. They brought in the United States. That's what started the revolution. All because the United States and the UK wanted to control Iran's oil. So Iran was like, you know what? I'll switch to nuclear energy like everybody else. So the United States provided it. And then when the United States tried to control how they were using their nuclear energy, that started another war. And then they got demonized. You're not going to find this out because the United States is going to hide this history. They're going to hide it. How I found it, I had to look it up in Al Jazeera articles and news. It's in Al Jazeera's news. That's what's crazy about that.
Trump wants to grab that to get leverage over Iran. He doesn't have that leverage.
But
See,
Sandeep,
there you
that
go.
makes Raj, that makes the entire GCC uncomfortable. This kind of escalation, where if Sandeep is saying that they're looking at Kharg Island, that would make the entire GCC uncomfortable because this is escalation. Are you looking at an isolated Trump or not?
Of course, he's isolated diplomatically, but let's not forget he has cards. Right? And as Sandeep was also mentioning, there's a boots on the ground card that he has, which is
Which, if he puts boots on the ground, it's going to be all-out warfare. If they haven't learned nothing from the past with Iraq and Pakistan, Afghanistan, they may have had an edge, but after a while, they were getting slaughtered. It turned into a dirty war. They were using civilians and kids to kill them. Even when I was in the military, they were talking about that. And they were dying. They were losing day by day, week by week. And the sad thing is now they're going to be going up against several militant groups. They're actually sitting out there waiting. They're not exposing what all of them are. Now, Trump just figured out, which is funny, that there's speedboats running around shooting at the tankers. He just now found out. So now you're probably hearing that now he's attacking the speedboats. Now, don't get me wrong. Iran is probably have already anticipated the United States is going to try to bomb anything and everything they can. So they're not going to pull all their resources. For all we know, the United States is just bombing guard boats, just the boats that's just watching the strait. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to have all the assets sitting out there. They're not that stupid. And they could be leaving some of the assets out there to see what the United States is going to do. And then they're going to re-strategize. They don't realize Iran is doing certain things to see what the United States is going to do, and they're going to plan around that. And it just, we're the narrative is this is another Iraq war. It's true, but flip it. Because see, we went into Iraq, and then the fight over oil was the end of Iraq. This is, they bombed and killed the leaders because they took the leader out of Iraq last. They killed the leaders here, and now they're attacking the oil. And now we're sending troops in. So it's the reverse. Except Iraq wasn't too prepared either. Iran was. Still is probably, regardless. And they're gonna have backup. They're gonna have help. In fact, they put Pakistan on blast. You know why? Because the Pakistani president said they support Iran, and so now the red flag's up. What is Pakistan gonna do? It's like, uh-oh. They already seen the the Hezbollah start backing up Iran, and Israel's still fighting the Hezbollah out in Lebanon and Beirut. So it's getting very sloppy.
America still has overwhelming military superiority, not just in the Gulf, but right across the world. So that's an option he has. What we are seeing is that the war has moved away from coalition, as we've seen when the moment NATO refused to participate in providing troops or bringing warships in there, to one of coerciveness. And so the coercive card is now being operated, a very dangerous card. You can see the war of the refineries, that's one. And we are seeing that happening now, where you could end up with really a disastrous position that Siddharth talked about, the nuclear, though I wouldn't call it a nuclear bomb since I know the devastating effects of them. But okay.
Trump has nuked the global energy matrix.
In terms of the impact of it.
Yeah,
right?
just looking at the beginning.
So certainly that's something that we need to look at. Then there's going to be the war of the tankers, which is in some senses what Sandeep is talking about. You capture Kharg and you try and control as a bargaining chip. You say, okay, until you free up the Hormuz, I'm not going to allow you to pump out oil. So these are all very dangerous options. These are no more in the realm of where you can calculate what is going to happen. We are getting into very dangerous waters, and any prognosis at the moment is not good.
Okay, we'll flip the question, but first we'll go to Sumit. Sumit, it's a coalition of two. Of course, Trump is a little isolated because nobody's joining this coalition. What's your reading?
Well, you can call it that Trump is isolated with whom? From European countries. He doesn't care about the European countries. The only concern for him is the closeness of Middle East with the Iran, which is a major concern before this operation started. So he
just, bruh, and that's true. He does not care about Europe at all. He said that from day one last year. And he just said all he cares about is the alignment with Middle East countries. If you don't know who they are, it's three of them: Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Why? Business ties. And then Israel. Now, I'm not sure what Israel has to offer the United States, period. But whatever Israel is offering the Trump family is mind-boggling. Because I don't know what it is. Now, Israel is part of NATO. And unfortunately, they all have to defend each other. But it's getting to the point, NATO, now it went from NATO now to Europe. It's getting kind of like, hold up. Because keep this in mind. Last year, the year before last, Israel was on the verge of being investigated and put on trial for war crimes against Palestine. That is what triggered Iran to attack Israel. Israel, right now, as we speak, is trying to cover and gloss over that fact. And they're going to use the simple fact that the protesters were attacked, and that's why they're attacking. Here's the problem. If you go back and look at what was going on, the protesters were gaslit to protest against the regime. The real protests in Iran and this was on Indian news, was the simple fact that the sanctions on Iran that was increased by Trump was making things harder on the Iranian people. And that's what made them frustrated. And then Trump turned around and said, see, your government is oppressing you guys. Fight, fight, fight. And the protesters that ate that got themselves killed. Trump wanted to go around and say, oh no, you can't kill him with protest because he's covering his ass. He gaslit them to get them killed. And then this is how you know he got them killed. He still was saying, well, we might help, but you got to take your country back by yourself. You got to do it on your own. Like, what? How? How? As we've seen, they have not taken out the leadership, number one. Then they haven't taken out all of the military, and not to mention, you still got the police. And the thing that, see, in any organization, when you take out a leader or a leader steps down, another one comes into place. This is like chopping a head off of a hydra. When you chop a head off of a hydra, another head grows back. And it's the same repeat regeneration over and over and over again. The people of Iran do not have the skill set and the knowledge to overthrow 3 sections of the government and then create their own, which in turn is going to have the same effects based on their traditions. So, Trump don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's just doing this shit for political imagery, and he's fucking up now. He's fucking up right now. In fact, the soccer team or the football team, however you want to call it, but the 5 girls that sought asylum for their football team decided to go back to Iran. I guarantee you why. They are now getting tired of their country getting bombed to hell by Israel. They're looking at the fact they're not necessarily welcomed in Australia, because guess what? They are just as unsafe in Australia as they are in their own country. But now, everything that they know is getting carpet bombed by Israel. How do you think that feels? You got a country using another country to carpet bomb your country, and yet you want to tell me take my country back when I'm not gonna have nothing left to take back? Think about that for a second. Think about that for a second, because that's what's happening.
Observing all these incidents, and after that, when these operations started, one most important achievement which America has achieved is the isolation of Middle East from the Iranian supremacy or the leadership. Now the GCC or the Middle East countries have been condemning Iran, their attacks, their military power, their influence in the other countries like Syria, like Iraq. So that is what America is looking for, that, and that is what they have achieved after this operation. They might have not achieved all those things, but they have achieved
they're
that.
not taking any action. So yes, in a way, America is kind of isolated. But let's flip the question, Gaurav, and ask whether Iran is losing the war or not. What's your reading? Is Iran losing the war over here? More important.
Not yet. Not yet. Iran continues.
Perfectly well said. Not yet. And that's true. In fact, if you think about it, going down with a fight is not necessarily losing. It's just you defend yourself to the bitter end. That's just what that means. And that's what Iran has already stated. I'm going to go down to the bitter end. And whoever wants to help, we welcome it. If not, we're going down. And this is going to send a message, if it's not have already sent the message, we have the ability to stand against the United States when they are bullying countries for decades. Iran is the first country to stand up against the United States since Germany. And the world needs to see this, because it's a goddamn shame that America has destroyed many countries over resources, put sanctions on them, and then demonize them. And then turn around talking about they're a nuclear threat when America and Russia have the most nuclear weapons in the world. And then other countries have nuclear weapons. And then you want to tell other countries you done pissed off and destroyed, you can't have weapons to defend yourself? Like, make it make sense. Israel got nuclear weapons, and they're over there wiping out Palestinians. They're still attacking them right now as we speak. But they're not going to show you that. That's why Iran is trying to protect the Palestinians. Israel want Iran out the way so they don't have no resistance. And then, in fact, yesterday or today, Netanyahu is now coming up with a new plan to create a new pipeline from Saudi Arabia around Iran to supply the Asian countries so he can get a cut. He's still trying to cut Iran out of the oil industry. That is fucked up. I keep saying this. This was the reason why Iran has had issues with America, because all of the oil in the world is a power struggle. And now to get Iran out of it completely, Israel wants to completely decimate the country so they can have a peace. It's fucked up. And it makes sense why it's possible why a lot of countries are also willing to shift to electrical power so you don't have to be dealing with this bullshit. If you have your own power supply coming from the wind, the water, and the sun, you don't have to be worrying about other people's resources. You got your own natural from the sun, from the wind, and from water. It's crazy. But that's another reason why countries, I should say, are shifting to that. And it's readily available. You're not gonna run out. They've been talking about a lot of countries gonna run out of oil soon. So it's kind of messed up.
To strike and strike hard, whether it's in the heart of Israel, whether it's vital assets and vital points in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, in the United Arab Emirates. They can strike at will. The number of missiles may be down. Remember, now it's day 20. Now, if the world's biggest superpower and the two best air forces, amongst the two best air forces in the world, the United States and Israel together, cannot bring Iran to its knees in 20 days, will they be able to do that in 30 days?
Will they be able to?
That's fucking wild too. That's why the world better wake up and watch this very carefully, because that is fucking wild. It's taking two countries to take out another country that they claim had very little military might, but they had capability to make a nuclear weapon, and yet they have yet to find any evidence of that. And yet Iran is whipping their ass with strategic abilities, yo. That is crazy. And that's why I said in one of my reactions videos about this whole war, this is a battle between the art of war and the rules of engagement. And America and Israel is constantly changing their rules of engagement because they have no tactical art form in this war, period. They don't know fuck they just randomly doing shit. And so Iran is seen whole. In fact, Iran can direct this war however they want to by bluffing and making them waste resources so they can say, okay, in fact, the United States is already running low. Israel's running low. The Iron Dome around Israel failed about a week ago. Israel is having to have protection from UK and France right now. Iraq is getting hit on their bases. Kuwait is getting hit on their bases. Now, not the whole country of Iraq, not the whole country of Kuwait, but the American bases in Iraq and Kuwait are getting hit. That's why Kuwait and Iraq ain't saying shit right now. They're not saying a goddamn thing because they know what's up. They're letting those bases get hit. Despite the headlines is, oh, Iraq is deflecting and defending and thwarting missiles. No, it ain't Iraq. It's the bases that the United States have that's doing that. The rest of Iraq ain't doing shit. Because if that was the case, you would have been hearing Iraq is shooting missiles at Iran and quitting on it. It's bad. It's bad.
Maybe not.
Sandeep, will they be able to?
It doesn't look like
Will they pull out with Iran still standing together?
Let's define victory and defeat in this
Yes.
context. For Iran, victory would mean survival. If Iran survives, if the regime survives, they've won. For the United States to win, because they are the sole superpower, they have this overwhelming force, as Raj was mentioning, they have to comprehensively defeat the Iranian regime till, as to quote Trump, that they have to cry uncle. They have to beg for forgiveness, they have to plead, and they have to surrender. I don't see either of these happening,
Exactly. And after a week of Trump throwing that out there, here we are. In fact, we're going on week 4. Iran said we ain't doing that. And so here we are. where we have shifted to, I'm gonna go down to fight. But I'm not surrendering. I'm not crying. None of that. I'm going down to fight, and that's why everybody's saying this might spread into World War III. Technically, it won't, because again, Europe had just finally declared they're willing to do something about the Strait of Hormuz, but they're not getting involved in the war. So that means they're going to sit back and watch. Now, they are supposed to be sending diplomats to talk to the diplomats in Iran. We'll see how that goes. But Trump is now, he's trying to do things his way. He's going to try to bomb the shit out of Hormuz. Whether or not that gets anywhere, we don't know. And then he wants to escort ships out, which that's going to put the ships in danger again. They already got 2 aircraft carriers at dock being repaired. They tried to hide and cover that shit up. China's satellite spotted one of them. In fact, the ship that the Abraham Lincoln was supposed to be with just got hit too. So it's like, it's a mess. Win or lose, the America military is going to go down in history with another fucked up war. In fact, they didn't say the Iraq war was much of a win-win. They're not calling it a win-win. They're calling that a sloppy mess. So this is going to go down as a sloppy mess. It's going to go down because they have taken casualties. And now, in fact, and I knew this was going to happen. That F-15 they claimed was the F-15 was it. Now they saying it's the F-35. I knew it was the F-35 because I know what they look like. So now they saying it's the F-35. And now, if that's the case, then they shot down 3 of them because the Indian reporters listed the crafts that the United States was using. The F-15s was not on the list at all. So now they're correcting it. F-35s got shot down. In fact, I guarantee you they got it from that pilot. In fact, if those pilots got captured while they were in medical facilities, that's why Iran knows. So it's getting to the point they're not covering up losses now. They taking losses. In fact, they taking losses unlike Iraq, because now we like aircraft carriers getting hit, fueling planes getting hit. An airport got hit with planes on the tarmac. It's crazy. They had another base hit with helicopters and shit. Satcoms got hit at base. It's just a mess. And the Iron Dome is failing around Israel. I don't know what to say. Like, in fact, if you heard what they were saying, the tourist industry is done for in the UAE. It's done. Now you might still have some people go over there, but they got to repair those hotels now and the airport. It's done. In fact, they don't have to beef up military security now. So much for Dubai. It's gonna be militarized. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be like 9/11. It's gonna suck. It took a while for tourism to pick back up in this country because of 9/11. And it was a pain in the ass to go to the airports. It was a pain in the ass. Now they've laxed some of it, but man, in fact, it took 4 years to get through that nonsense. I didn't want to fly. All the high security, this, that, and the third. It was
The regime could just survive, but just barely so. The United States doesn't look like it can achieve this kind of victory from the air, and this is the scary part. There has
Boots on
been
the
only
ground.
one instance in history of the last 100 years where an air war has been won from the air, and that is Imperial Japan. The defeat of Japan in 1945 was possible from the air because they dropped atomic weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And that is why I am so afraid of this conflict. I've been writing about this for the last 2 or 3 weeks. That
Is
this
it going to
could
go
be-
nuclear?
This could go nuclear. The World Health Organization believes there is a fear of nuclear weapons being used here. They're preparing for contingency.
and that's kind of sad because Israel, seeing how Israel has been acting, they're more inclined to just to drop it just because. And I can tell you right now, Israel don't give a shit about nuclear fallout. They don't. They have already bombed the nuclear facilities, regardless if there was uranium in there or not. They just don't care. They don't care. That's again, that's still a genocidal attempted genocide. Off, just it's a shame, you know. And it makes you wonder how Israel is getting away with this. Well, Trump right now is protecting Israel. He has pulled out all stops that would have had the president on trial. He has completely pulled it, and so he's going to continue to be protected until Trump gets out of office, and it's up to the next president to start filing criminal charges against Netanyahu. Just that's just the reality, and it's a shame. Again, everybody's missed it. Trump is protecting Netanyahu. He did it on purpose.
Agencies. This
Raj Chengappa has written an entire book on it. Raj, can it go nuclear?
Let's look at the objectives of the war, right? Which everyone says is so vague, but the fact is that one of the biggest objectives of this war was that the fear that Iran had begun to cross the Rubicon and become a nuclear power. And therefore, this whole business of let us now nip it at the bud before it gets really out of hand. And the feeling was that these 400 kgs of enriched uranium could have been easily converted into bomb material grade. So if you see the moves that could happen after this, if Iran wants to demonstrate that it has the nuclear capability, it will do a nuclear test. Right? And if it does a nuclear test, that changes the whole perspective as we've seen with North Korea.
Exactly. Has Iran done any nuclear tests? None. You know what they did do? They did drone tests last year. And it's funny how the United States came into this still thinking old school, like boomers would, no offense, talking that nuclear bullshit narrative, which I'm getting tired of hearing. And they were not prepared for a drone attack at all. Like, at all. Period. They weren't prepared for it. But yeah, they were like, oh, well, if we bomb all their missile sites and drone sites, that'll take care of it. It's day 22, I believe, and I'm still seeing headlines. Israel's still getting their asses carpet bombed. In fact, they just bombed a new base, another UK American base. Now, that's what pulled Britain into this, but I'm at a point where I believe Britain is just not going to respond anymore. They already know what's up, and they're looking at if the United States are anywhere near their bases, they just gonna get hit. They're just going to take the losses. They're so this has been a drone war that the United States sadly had 10 years to prepare for, if not more than that, and we came in this thinking airstrikes and missile strikes or bomb strikes will still be relevant. Bruh, come on. It's not surprising Iran didn't have the time to even make enough drones to run drone attacks against fighter jets. That would be crazy. But I guarantee you it's coming. When they start making drones that fly as fast as F-35s and MiG fighters, the United States is in a world of fucking hurt. We are in trouble. We are in trouble. Because I know they're gonna have capabilities to make drones that fly as fast as fighter jets. And when you got that, you're gonna be having to fight off 50 of them motherfuckers to 100. Flares ain't gonna stop that. It's gonna be a horrific dogfight. And if they're very maneuverable with the help of AI, it's gonna be hard to shoot them down. Hard. So that is interesting what he just said. Iran would have shown some nuclear capability by having nuclear tests. North Korea does it all the time. In fact, the United States just had one within I think it was the second week, not too far from where I live. One of their battleships launched a ballistic missile that could carry a nuclear warhead off of our coast. So again, that's another sign. If it went down that road, they were going to nuke Iran. But we will see because now Trump is getting severe pushback, and he's trying to ask for a $200 billion budget, which I don't think that's gonna pass. We are fucking struggling right now as Americans. We're struggling. Gas prices are fucking nuclear and cooked right now. Americans are so goddamn suppressed, they don't know what to say anymore. It's like everybody's like, fuck it, which is fucked up because we need to be out there protesting. I don't know what's wrong with Americans right now. I don't know. It's
Everybody's hands off, right? Because you cannot tamper with a nuclear. Now, that could be a bluff in the sense I've only that much, I've just done a crude test, and therefore it might do another test. So that's one aspect of the nuclear damage. I'm not very sure whether Trump would want to employ tactical nukes to do the kind of damage that he believes he tried to do in June when he did hit some of the reactors. So what would be the thing that they're most worried about? Is these 400 kgs being moved, and from what we know is that though they have bombed these reactors, this material that can be taken in canisters or wherever, this enriched uranium, has been dispersed to various places. So one of the things, apart from the Cargill Island option, is that America flies in with its top guys.
82nd Airborne.
82nd Airborne stands in those places and pulls out all the moment you get all the nuclear material, Iran has nothing. In
But
terms
the
of the
moment
actual
you put
worry.
boots on ground, you have the Basij, the IRGC, the
Yes.
Iranian forces, and maybe
Boots on
armed
ground has never
civilians.
been a happy experience. I've seen Vietnam
that
for
would be a
any of these.
disaster.
And for America, it has never been a good experience. Sumit, what's your assessment? You've traveled to Tehran, you've seen Iran. Is there a possibility of defeating Iran without putting boots on the ground?
So, well, this war is between the war of supremacy, one of the finest and the biggest military power in the world, and the war between the endurance. Iran has the endurance to fight for a longer period. America has a power of a great power, like they have a nuclear weapons, they have submarines, they have a naval power. But when you go through both these statements from the American and the Iranian side always mention we are ready for a long war. American side always say we are only here for a small operations. Yeah. We will achieve all these operations very soon and we will come out from that. We are not going to repeat Iraq. So this clearly mentioned that there is a conflict of objective and there is a conflict of the strategy to fight this war. America doesn't want to fight for a longer period. That's why they want to end this war at that.
the thing is, well, the Trump administration don't want to fight this for a long period of time because it's an ego thing. It's an ego thing. That's the problem. But the sad thing is they should have planned this. And that's why I kind of ignored the headlines when they kept pushing these headlines. Is Trump going to attack Iran since January? Or it might have been December, but I kept ignoring it because there was no plans. I can tell there was no plans. And then they kept leaking these headlines. Now all of a sudden, right after, like the day after talks, they bombed Ali Khamenei. I think his name is Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. But anyway, they bomb him. And then they point fingers of who pulled the trigger first. And then, what was it, day before yesterday at the little press conference or the news media conference with the Japanese president, they asked him, why you didn't tell the world? Oh, because I wanted it to be a surprise, like Japan surprised us at Pearl Harbor. Like, what the fuck, yo? And bro, she jumped out her skin. When I saw it, she jumped. Like, you don't do that. And then he's gonna say that like he bragged about it. Then he's gonna turn it into a sarcastic joke. Japan, number one, is already embarrassed. They did surprises, but they lost. And then they got nuked. And then they had to suffer from that. And then they had to have the Americans come in and rebuild the country under suppression. You know Japan is being suppressed right now. It's so bad. My brother told me once you leave the areas that is safe for Americans, you're gonna see a lot of Japanese hatred towards America. That's what he told me. And that shit's real. I believe it. Because anybody who watched anime from the 80s and 90s, it's evident in their anime. It's clear as fucking day. And if you don't believe me, go pull up all the mech anime, pull up all the military anime, and you're gonna see it. It is clear as fucking day. It's Japan versus America. One of my favorite anime series called Super Achigon. It's right. In fact, Super Achigon is based off of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Two submarine battleships fighting each other. One is Japanese, one is American. It's telling you. And there was another one, Blue Steel Adagapo, I think it is. That one, that's another one. Japan versus America. So trust me. Now the new generation, they kind of over it. You know what I'm saying? They want to fit in. But the old gen that's still existing, they don't forget. They're not stupid. They're not. And right now they're getting kind of tired of the American bullshit that they bring over there anyway. So they already got laws against American tourists. So make it make sense. Like telling you, America is becoming a massive embarrassment, if not already. They are a lot. Most of the global world don't even like us, but they just put up with us because we got money. Cha-ching. We got that's the only reason why the world puts up with us because we got money. Just saying.
Particular place at that particular point from where they can prove we have achieved what we have to achieve for this operation. So
Okay.
Geeta,
Yeah, so-
just to
yeah.
add, we focused on the energy map being redrawn. As a consequence, just to add on, it's very clear, regardless of the final outcomes, and Raj and Sandeep and all of you could come in on this, it is clear that West Asia's security map
Sorry,
has
that's
also
my
been
chit-chat.
redrawn. So
Yes.
far, the United States of America was the ultimate security provider, the umbrella for the entire West Asian region, including from Iran. And what have these 20 days shown us? That regardless of the pummeling that Iran has taken, any target, including refineries, including airports, including a storage terminal, even today is within reach of Iran after having seen 20 days of
Very,
sustained
very
bombing.
important point.
Second point, those radars that were blown up within the first 2-3 days, American defense contractors who have had a complete run of West Asia, barring what the USSR and to some extent Russia had, will now no longer be seen as favored protectors and guarantors of regional
That is
security.
a very important point.
And the final point, Geeta, I think, let's also look at an advantage from the Indian context. I am an eternal optimist, and I would believe that this is the time, once the dust settles down, for India to step up, to play a bigger role as a guarantor and provider, don't crucify me on those two words, of West Asian security using our naval power as well as our relationships across
The diplomacy bit.
I just have,
We need
not
to
that I disagree.
increase it. We need to increase
Fair
our
enough, you
naval
can do
power.
all that, but the realistic position is, and you mentioned it earlier, the fallout in India is going to be tremendous right now itself. You already talked of the energy crisis that is going to build. Oil, we might have a certain assurance. Certainly LPG, we don't. We depend a hell of a lot. 40% of our imports come from there, and that's already hit badly. You can see the impact that's happening. Take a look at every sector that you're working on. And what I think is going to happen now is a crisis very similar to what happened during COVID. And while I must commend the government, at the moment they do have a sort of a whole of government approach in terms of bringing all these people to brief us every day, it has to move from firefighting to absolute crisis management, because you now know this war is not going to end very quickly.
Can
It is
I
going to get
just
worse.
interject?
And therefore, I'll just finish. Every single aspect of that impact that is going to have, whether you're looking at the hospitality sector, which is really going to in deep trouble, airlines, whether you're looking at fertilizers, which you mentioned, where agriculture is going to be a problem. Take a look at any of the other industries, ceramics, wherever you see problems where you need energy or in some senses
Okay, quick
supplies.
rebuttal,
Is
and
going
then
to
I
be
need my
about
last
One
question.
quick point,
Yeah.
Geeta. Very grandiosely, the United States said that we are giving a month-long waiver for Russian oil on the high seas.
I
That
agree.
is now a permanent state that will exist, and I'm going out on a limb and saying here, gone are the days when the United States can leverage us, try and blackball us for purchasing Russian oil and gas.
You're saying we'll not.
There it is. There it is. There it is. Right there. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it. India's woke. India's woke right now. They already calling out. Gone are the days. America's gonna be able to blackball us And look, I mean, right there in the caption, we will not succumb to American pressure on Russian oil. In fact, the president or Prime Minister Modi, he turned down Trump's offer on the 30-day sanction relief on Russian oil. He said, nah, I'm good. And the sad thing is, before Trump offered that, Russia had came out and said, we will help you with oil if you need it. And I guarantee you, when Trump heard that shit, he was like, oh, whoa. How about I got a better deal? We'll just make it cheaper. Man, India was like, nah, I'm good. Because Russian oil is cheap anyway. It's just people can't buy it without added tariffs. That's the sanction on Russian oil. If you buy Russian oil, we're going to increase the tariffs. But here's the catch: Trump owes the world tariff refunds. So yeah, he can't tariff anybody anymore. The only thing he'll be able to do is create some stupid ass embargo like he did to Cuba, and we're going to get to that later on. There you have it. I said it. I said if somebody don't learn from this, somebody's gonna really figure out like if Iran can do it, we can do it. They're gonna push back. And if this team is already talking about how the example Iran is pushing against the bully, you know, greed and military force of the American greed and take my resources, you can't do nothing about it. They'll never learn, but they're seeing it now. They're seeing it, and they're already talking about it. I guarantee you, they're already looking at this. In fact, India's already been pushed. Not just India, Spain. Spain was the first NATO country that said, "Oh hell no, you are not putting me in this. In fact, you're not going to use none of my bases, my ports in this war." Spain was the first NATO country to come out and say that. That sent a rippling effect through NATO. And it made everybody rethink. Everybody rethink. Because you know who followed that? Finland. Then us, it was Finland. Then I think Denmark, low key, and then Italy. Italy at first was going to support, but then they're like, wait, hold up. Then they backed out. And then Germany was going to support it, but then they just recently backed out too. They was like, wait, hold up. In fact, I got the clip. If y'all look at my thumbnails, you'll see what Germany said. Because at first they were, but then they was like, oh wait, hold up. They had the most brutal. No, Spain had the most brutal backlash and rebuke, but Germany had a follow up. It was pretty fucking awesome how they said it. Like, I don't care if y'all mad at how I say things, but I'm just telling you the truth. Because we, as Americans, as we speak, we are suffering. We are not getting no kind of help. Gas prices are fucking high, so you know what's gonna happen to everything else. We're not getting any. We are owed some stimulus checks. We're not getting that. We're not seeing any relief. We've had a lot of programs cut. We're not seeing any relief on the housing market. And now gas is going to go up. So when gas goes up, prices of everything else going to go up. They already talking about plane prices went up. So it's going to be like how the Iraq war ended, and it's going to take the next president 4 fucking years to fix, because that's what happened to President Obama. It took him 4 years to fix that slop, and then another 4 years to institute his plan. And then by the time he got his plan going, well, the Republicans were undermining him. They don't want to say that, but they were. And then Trump comes in and tries to roll back everything he tried to start, including the price gouging and inflation he had protections on. Obama had laws against inflation, and Trump rolled them back and got rid of them. That's why we at where we at. Again, you don't believe me? Look it up. Dodd-Frank law. Look up the Dodd-Frank law. Trump rolled 60% of that law back.
Will not succumb to American pressure on Russian oil.
Trade deal, no trade deal. That is now the lifeline for this country. And I'm going out on a limb to say this.
America doesn't come out smelling of roses from this conflict at all.
If there's a positive takeaway from this war, maybe it's just this. that nobody will be blackmailed by America anymore.
You know,
There's no positives. I'm sorry to say.
I know. I'm just saying that, that
This war
the fact
is
that America,
already creating the kind of disaster that we don't want to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
We might cheer later, Russian oil. This is all in the realm of speculation. The fact is, we don't know. I think Gaurav had speculated at some point. Trump has a lot of cards, let's not forget. He has oil also.
Yeah.
It's not like America's oil is going to vanish. He actually has multiple objectives in this war.
which is
He
why,
punches
okay,
China,
that
which
I
is
don't
so
have,
dependent.
but I don't
So
have
we
a
have
lot
to
of
see
time.
the larger game plan.
So
But of course, yes, we can talk about this.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
go ahead.
in the larger perspective, let's just focus on one area and one area alone, because we are completely out of time over here. The Middle East countries, West Asian countries, had warned America against this war. He still went ahead with Israel. So the question, and I start with Sumit and we'll go around the table, is will America be isolated once this war ends, at least from the West Asian perspective? Are the Arab world again going to question whether they should have bases in American bases on their soil, which Siddharth had, I'm just extending what Siddharth said.
Well, Geeta, after this
Quickly.
war is over, only one point is there. What is the sense of security after this war is over, that Iran is not going to attack again on all these areas and they're not disturbing state of Hormuz? The only sense of security is Corb Island, because America will take the charge of this island just to make everybody ensure that Iran is not going to attack us, because we are in the control of this island. And
All right, let's take a gamble here. Now you just saw them roast the shit out of America. They already started the narrative. We're gonna no longer be dealing with blackmailing American governments, and America has been blackmailing countries for decades after World War II, if not probably before. So narrative is now started in India, and you guys not seeing this except now. I'm showing you this. I've been saying it to a lot of my friends over the years. The world does not care for us. They only deal with us just because. But you see what they're saying. You see what they're saying. Number two, let's go on a gamble here. If Iran expects that island to be taken, they got two options. Let them take it and then ambush them, or strike the shit out of that island. Because if I'm correct, I think they said the island is just a supply island. It's not exactly an island that is going to be a total loss. Now, the sites that Israel struck is a total loss. And that's when the gas refinery got hit, Trump had to double back, like, hold up, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? Because now the people really got no electricity. In fact, I posted in my YouTube shorts that gas refinery supplied the electric grid. And it was the reason why Iran was trying to use nuclear power plants. So with Trump bombing in nuclear power plants, Iran just lost their backup. They lost their backup. The nuclear power plants were their backup. Now the gas refinery is being repaired. So it's kind of sad how this is turning out. But chances are, if any of the lines get taken, Iran's probably gonna bomb the fuck out of them. They're gonna bomb them because at this point, this is a war. This is war. Win or lose, this is war. All cards on the table. They've already lost a lot. They're gonna find a way to take the enemy out, even if it means baiting them with their own resources. Trump is not paying attention.
there will be a negotiation between the Iran and the American side on this particular issue. That's why they are moving their navy so fast in this particular area, and they are also assuring the Middle East countries that this is the sense of security we are going to provide you also, beside the air defense systems, that now Iran is not going to attack you, and this will be the last or the I think conclusion of this war when this going to end.
Which is what they're also saying. But quickly, Raj.
Well, very optimistic view of things that are happening. But look, this is a war of choice. As we can see it now confirmed by his own national counterterrorism expert and also by some of their top officials. And Oman has confirmed that there was an option which he didn't exercise. So this is a war of choice, and this is a war where as it progresses,
It's a bad choice. It was a fucking bad choice. Now it's a shit. It's a shit show. It's a horrible shit show. It's gonna go down in the world. In fact, that's why I said his first day declaring victory because he killed Ali Khamenei and his staff. Like, are you kidding me? Because the one after Saturday passed and Sunday, Iran was releasing holy hell. I'm like, wait, hold up. He just killed almost the entire chain of command, and the next day they're launching rain of missiles, a fucking hellstorm of missiles. Like it was raining missiles, and you still trying to declare victory. And then Monday comes around, same shit. Tuesday, same shit. They got to go in there and bomb all the missile sites. It took them a week to bomb however many they claim they bombed. And now here it is, day 22 over there. 5:59 p.m. I'm sorry, that's not the right clock. But anyway, it's 10:06 a.m. right now, and they're still launching missiles. How you declaring victory? Like you, and then you allow Israel to force his son to come to power by bombing the selection site. Like, how stupid are you people? Like, they were trying to pick somebody that would be worthy of a balanced governing body to maybe give the United States a chance to, like, okay, look, we got this guy. He's not part of the community regime. Let's make some type of truce or ceasefire, but we're not discussing terms anymore. Israel fucking bombed the site, forcing Iran to pull a military strategist, a strategist, I should say, as supreme leader. Like, I don't know. There's no words for this shit. There's no words for this.
Progresses gets even more disastrous. Forget the isolation part. At every step, we will pay not just US, not just the Gulf, but India will pay.
Of course.
This is the first war of the 21st century where American assets, personnel have been targeted relentlessly for 20 days. I cannot imagine any other war in the 21st century where American troops, infrastructure have been hammered this way. But that said,
Right. Oh my God, he is right. This is embarrassing. Like, yo, and I'm not gonna lie. I do believe, and if I remember correctly, my brother's aircraft carrier was Abraham Lincoln. Thank God he wasn't on it. In fact, they're forcing him to go out there. I just talked to him a couple of days ago. He said it's taken him about a month to rescind the orders. But yeah, the aircraft carrier got hit, and now the Gerald Ford got hit. I'm like, bro, that's bad. They lost 3 F-35s, just like I said it was. They lost 2 refueling planes. I mean, come on, guys, this is pathetic. This is fucking pathetic. You bombed the hell out of a country and you're targeting your assets strategically. This is unheard of. This is unheard of. Like, oh man, I don't know what to say. I really don't.
I'm an optimist when it comes to American military power. America has
The managing editor, Business Today. Let's
All right, so that's the end of it. There was a part they had said that was really, really important. Let me see. Go back. We missed it.
Position is, and you mentioned it earlier, the fallout in India is going to be tremendous right now.
Very grandiosely, the United States said that we are giving a month-long waiver for Russian oil on the high seas.
This is
Also,
really,
it's
really
not like America's oil is going to vanish. He actually has multiple objectives in this war.
yeah, which is
He
why.
punches
Okay,
China.
that
which
I
is
don't
so
have.
dependent.
But I
So
don't
That
have.
was
these
the
are
end.
larger
I think they said it in the beginning. And then we're going, and
bases on their soil, which Siddharth had.
choice. As we can see it now confirmed by his own national ex
for 20 days. I cannot imagine any other war in the 21st century where American troops infrastructure have been hammered this way. But that said, I'm an optimist when it comes to American military power. America has
The managing editor, Business Today. Let's begin with you, Siddharth. Bloodbath, mayhem in the markets.
Well, this is clearly something that we should now call Trump's war on the world's energy matrix. I'm no longer now comfortable calling it the West Asia crisis or Gulf War 3.0, and certainly it's not still World War 3, but it is a nuclear bomb that has been thrown on the world's oil and gas sector. Mid-70s.
Did I actually turn off my caption here? Hold on. Oh yeah, I sure did. Okay.
We remember the crisis, but this is far beyond what we have ever imagined.
See, in fact, let's go back. He just called it out. He just called it out. Pay
Nuclear
close
bomb that
attention to
has
the
been
caption.
thrown on the world's oil and gas sector. Mid-70s, we remember the crisis, but this is far beyond what we have ever imagined.
So, if you don't remember, I did a reaction to this. In the 70s, this was the start of Britain and America trying to manipulate Iran's oil and oil company, which is now called in America BP. This was the start of it. He just said it. Iran wasn't having it, and they pushed back, and they've been pushing back with, like India, this panel said, all the blackmailing, blackballing, and bullying. They've been pushing back, and now they're being demonized. And you got Arab nations trying to support America just because of money. So you heard it out of his mouth. He just said it.
And let me just give you some quick statistics to put in perspective. I have in front of me a report which I bought for this show. Mid of December last year, which is just 3 months away, the projection for crude oil prices at a global level was just $51. Brent crude, which is one of the benchmarks which is widely tracked globally, is more than double that now. Now let's come to India. And because this is the democratic newsroom where we try and bust myths, people track Brent or WTI or other grades of crude oil. Don't track that. Track something called the Indian basket of crude, which is at $147 to the barrel. Now you may ask why. Because the Indian basket of crude is an aggregate of multiple types of crude that we buy, and then that becomes the pricing that we aggregate. If the Indian basket is at 146, what did our budget, which was presented just on the 1st of February, have projected for the new fiscal year, which is beginning 1st April?
Right.
It was $65 less as a projected price. So the disruption in oil and gas is something that Geeta and to all our to eminent colleagues here has not been part of any projection for the longest. So nobody knows what is going on. And one final word. If the conflict were to stop tomorrow,
It'll still not stabilize.
it will not stabilize because the second order, third order, and nth order effects are far beyond oil, including chemicals, including minerals, and God forbid fertilizers. And that is why you see this sense of urgency in the government of India to now go beyond protecting just our energy security to our fertilizer and agriculture
So
security.
is Trump on his way to being completely isolated? I ask you this
The
again, and then
United
I'll come to
States is surplus in oil and gas.
You know,
They
our
don't
viewers,
care.
yes,
They don't care.
They,
They-
don't
They
care.
simply don't
Look, say,
Isolated or not.
So US does have Israel with it, or Israel, they're actually joined at the hip right now.
there we go. That's it. They called it. They don't care. We don't care. And it's true. Trump doesn't care. Like real talk. Now he's acting like he cares. You know why? Because he's getting a lot of blowback. A lot of blowback. But in fact, I want to show you why Trump and the oil businesses don't care. Check this out. The United States is the largest oil producer in the world by far. So when oil prices go up, we make a lot of money. It's highlighted right there. Now you know why oil prices go up. In fact, that happened with I believe at the beginning of the Gulf War, there were price gouging the oil prices and the gas prices. They got so ridiculously bad. At that time, the American people complained. They actually complained. And Bush was almost in trouble for allowing it, and he had to put laws in place to prevent it. Here we are again. No one's complaining. Like, come on. Like, yeah, this is constantly happening, but come on. And now Trump is putting it out there. He's exposing the entire oil industry. He said it during, in fact, when he attacked Venezuela, he alerted the oil companies first. All this shit that he's doing is personal gain. He does not care. Not only does he not care about the rest of the world in that world, he doesn't care about Americans either. It's all about him. He's acting like it because he's getting pushed back by the Democrats and Republicans. It's right here. And look, let's look, check this out. But of far greater interest and importance to me as president is stopping an evil empire Iran from having nuclear weapons and destroying the Middle East and indeed the world. See, bro, like, first of all, this is the same narrative they said about Germany. This is the same fucking narrative. That's what got the world into attack. And Germany was focusing on who? Russia. That was their focus, Russia. They were dealing with immigration, but they were trying to deal with Russia the whole time. And Poland was technically in between Russia control. That's what triggered France and UK to attack Germany. But to get everybody to jump in, they said the same shit. That's what I'm saying. Like, people, we need to pay attention to the same, tired of those narratives they keep putting on other countries so we can have an excuse to attack them. And this man's from that era, so he's using the same narrative. You just heard it. Iran don't have nuclear weapons at all. And if they did, they've been testing them. They haven't tested a fucking thing. They've been testing their drones. Come on now. So that's the fuckery right now, and it's a shame because
Now, as far as these operations are concerned,
everybody's running and eating this alive, whether they debunk it or not. But half the Americans believe this shit. It's amazing what I see in the DMs, in the comment section. The Americans still believe this bullshit. It's a fucking shame. So let's look at something else. All right. So, like I said, sanctions, right? The protests, right? Indian News reported, in fact, the 3 days within the war, they were reporting what started the protests. Okay. They actually said that the initial protest against the regime was they wanted Khomeini to bow and yield to Trump so they can get the sanctions off. Trump increased the sanctions Biden had to make them be starved out. On top of he destroyed the Iran nuclear deal Obama and NATO agreed upon. He destroyed it. Okay? Sanctions, right? Watch this. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel has lashed out after President Trump suggested he can do whatever he wants with the island and that the U.S. could take imminent action against it. Come on now, like, are we paying attention here? This was posted on the 18th. Writing on social platform X late Tuesday, Diaz-Canel said that the Trump administration publicly threatens Cuban government almost daily with overthrowing it, and any act of aggression will clash with an impregnable resistance. It's and remember that little boat that got shot off the coast of Cuba, and that shit went quiet quick. Now, I have made a documentary slash reaction on that. I called out that was a American spy boat, probably CIA. And when they got caught, the boat fired first. The Cubans decimated. Notice the press conference on that was pretty mild, and they were trying to like act like they had no fucking clue, and we still have yet to hear about it. Because the Trump administration sent them out there. They know they sent them out there. That's why they're not taking action. Now they may gonna continue to use an excuse, but they're not taking. You're not gonna hear shit about that because they know they were wrong for doing that. Here it is. While the Cuban government places heavy restrictions on their country's private sector, again, whatever America has interest in Cuba, they're trying to restrict the American government from tapping into it. That is pissing the American government off right there. And this is causing what? Decades of U.S. sanctions have crippled Cuba's economy. And now you understand why Cubans come here. I have a Cuban friend, and she did not know this. I had to explain it to her with pieces of evidence. Now she sees. I showed her this article. She agreed because that's her country. She came here because of the poor quality of Cuba. All because America keeps putting sanctions on that country because they want control of their private sector. I had a guy today, I believe it was Korean. He told me the same shit. He said he was down in Cuba 10 years ago. It's being drained dry of resources, all because of America. Guess who is dealing with this too? Since Ronald Reagan. What just they're declaring 40 years ago? Iran. And like I said, Trump just increased the sanctions on Iran, but released sanctions off of Syria. Syria was under sanctions. I know Iraq is still under sanctions. Pakistan is still in sanctions. He broke a deal with the Taliban in Afghanistan. Y'all forgot about that. Yeah, he broke a deal with the Taliban in Afghanistan. The same Taliban that he accused Biden for allowing to go back to power. Like, make it make sense. So there you have it. There you have it. America has this weird, twisted way of making countries give America what they want. Otherwise, they will get sanctioned, then demonized, and then accused of having nuclear weapons or weapons of mass destruction or however the fuck that looks like. And then we end up going to war when they push back. If you don't believe what I'm saying now, I don't even know what to say anymore because guess what? I don't agree with none of this. I never did. I knew something was wrong with a lot of the wars we were in. Something wasn't right. Because you know why? I had access to foreigners. I talked to a lot of foreigners. Still do. And I talk to foreigners who come here and become citizens. And I'm telling you right now, the stuff they tell me, it ain't good. They're here just to survive. That's it. If they can go back to their country, they will. Someone actually said they're going to go back to their country. They only came here, most of them came here because of the sanctions, because they need to survive. They don't talk ill will about their country, especially when they find out the truth. They don't. Now we're getting exposed bad because we got dumbass in office not giving a shit because he's got to follow it. Because of that following, he's going to do what the fuck he wants to, as it states in this article. It literally states Trump suggested he can do whatever he wants. It's right there. And now he's trying to do the same thing with Netanyahu to Iran. So Israel could do what they want to Palestine, which Trump isn't on it too. The Palestinians don't want whatever the fuck they're coming up with. They just want their land back that they openly allow Israel. No, I'm sorry, because Jews are not Israelites. They allow the Jews to come back and live on. It's a mess. It's a mess. And we need more countries to stand up against this. And to be honest, and I've probably said this already, they need to get Israel out of NATO, prosecute the president, and bring Ukraine back in to have a seat at the table because Ukraine rescinded their application, I believe, around December, and they're still getting their asses carpet bombed. Now, make that make sense. So you know what that tells you? Putin wants Ukraine back as a sovereign piece of Russia. It has really, truly got nothing to fully do with NATO, although I found out part of it does. Putin originally didn't want NATO to keep expanding, which he couldn't stop anyway. He still can't stop it. But in hindsight, he still wants Ukraine back into NATO, just like China wants Taiwan back into China because they got Hong Kong back. And if you remember, the same thing that happened to those protesters in Iran happened to the protesters in Hong Kong. Both asked for Trump's help. Trump said, do it on your own. One group got annexed, the other group got shot. Trump don't give a fuck. Hong Kong got betrayed. They were flying our flags. They literally was flying our flags. And Trump turned his back against them. Now they're under Chinese control, under Beijing. To be honest, they're not doing that bad. They just fighting over whether they want a socialist communist country or a democratic socialist country. That's what they're fighting over. So I hope you guys learned from this. If you didn't, that's all right. If you didn't like it, that's okay. If you don't like me broadcasting the war, that's okay. People who don't like what I'm talking about, fine. All you gotta do is unsubscribe. But there's reasons why I don't even ask for anybody to like or to subscribe or even click the notification bell because my title says it all. If you remember those who've been my followers from the beginning, it was originally that's cap. That means you're lying. That meant I'm here to tell the truth. Then I changed it to disturbing the peace. You know why? Because it's time to bust the American bubble. That's a big bubble of a lie. It's time to break it, to disturb the peace of isolation and lies. That's why I changed it. Because that's we need the truth. We need to be woke again, not just for DEI or whatever. That's a whole nother topic. I don't even care about that. But we need to really wake the fuck up. We need to disturb this piece of lies and wake the fuck up. That's why I changed it. And like I said, you can follow and take in what I tell you. I'm all about facts and truth and reality. I'm not about opinions. I'm not going to give you my opinion. I'm going to give you what I know and what I understand in my theory. That's it. You take it or leave it. My channel is not about opinions. Most channels are about opinions, and that's why you don't see me talk a lot, because I don't want to waste my time talking about a bunch of opinions, and then sometimes some of it's not factual, some of it's not, and then you get nah. I want everybody to have a voice. That's why I post everybody else's stuff too, so you can see everybody's perspective, because that's what it's all about, people's opinions. So everybody have a good weekend. Try to get some sleep. I'm going to be looking at what else is going on.